welcome. I did prepare an agenda, but I'd like to start first to ask you what some of your interests or what you'd like to know specifically about using library resources so that I make sure I cover all of that.
So just personally, I guess I'm a social psychologist. I do a lot of research in social psychology, particularly decision-making, social cognition. So I'm using PsycInfo
right.
Through the library database, Google Scholar, Psych articles.
Okay.
So I'm familiar with that, but any other sort of resources that you can explain
that you could possibly use.
Right, that would be useful.
Okay.
The other side is that I'm teaching. I teach research methods.
Yes.
So I had Bill Duffy come visit my class this year. He talked about those sorts of resources and what they could use to do lit searches and things like that. So, I just I'm generally interested in what you have to say.
Okay.
There must be things that I don't know.
So what I'm going to do is just start from the library webpage, and if you want to, you can log on and follow me along. And I just want you to realize the kinds of resources and services that are here specifically for faculty. And we can go through, I can customize a little bit. In the handout with the agenda, I actually included a nice photo that maybe we could take a photo of it later. Okay, so we have a lot of resources. There are about 100 databases, but we have a lot of other resources too. So I'm going to start from the library webpage. On the left side, you'll see something that says resources for you, and we'll specifically take the one for faculty and staff. Now I know you know how to use a library, but every place is a little different, right? So just to get used to the kinds of things that we have. First of all, in terms of our lending policy, faculty have semester loans, as do graduate students. Okay. You also, as a faculty member, you have some reciprocal borrowing privileges. First of all, we're a member of PALS Plus, which is a public library system in Passaic County. And we're also a member, let me scroll down here a little bit so you can see the rest, of VAIL, which is VAIL is the virtual academic library environment. So what it is a consortium of college and university libraries in New Jersey. So you do have some reciprocal borrowing privileges if you needed to go to another institution. When you get to that point, you can ask us about it because it's always something that changes a little bit. The other thing is that you can set up a proxy if you wanted to. If you had a grad assistant, you can, with an authorization form, set it up so that grad assistant can borrow materials for you. Okay, so pretty straightforward and easy to use. In terms of the actual, let me just go back to, back is faster. I wanted to point out some things about the catalog itself. And let's just see here. Okay, so the catalog is a faceted catalog. So if I wanted to, and I'll just put in a search term here, very often, I always take a word that's hard to type, okay. So sustainability. Very often you might want to know what the most recent additions are that have been something that's been added to the collection. And so you'll notice that there's facets along the side over here. So first of all, it's sorting by relevance, but I actually can put in a year. So if I wanted to see what books have been added since 2013, for example, I can just put in 2013. 2013, or any date range that I want it to, and I can then browse through and see what things have been added to the collection. Similarly, if you wanted to see if there were any electronic books or streaming videos on this topic, you can just go through the facet pretty quickly. I'm not going to do that right now, but let me just show you some of the other facets that are in here. If I scroll down, okay. So if I wanted to sustainability, I could actually then browse by subject area If I select more, it basically shows the Library of Congress classification system. So you get the idea. It's really easy to do that. The other thing is when you do a search, as I did a search for sustainability, just go back up here. Okay, that search is a link that you can actually cut and paste and put it into Blackboard for your students to look at. So if you wanted to draw them to certain resources, you can do that as well. And let's just look at the very first one that says sustainability, just to point out another feature and service. Okay, you'll notice that at the bottom it says log in for Fetch It. It's right here in kind of light green. Okay, so this book happens to be checked out, but this is a service both for faculty and for students. So we'll actually pull the book for you. So you can actually click the Fetch It. You do need to log in. And if you log in, you set up an account. It's based on your 855 number and your last name, so that part is actually simple to do. And we'll actually hold the book, pull the books and hold them for you. Now, faculty at Valley Road and Power right now have a delivery service. Okay, so we're working toward that direction of providing delivery service for faculty. But right now, the Fetch It will get the books for you if you needed to do that. Okay.
How long does that take normally?
It usually, I think they guarantee maybe within 2 days or something like that, and they'll hold it for a period of time, approximately a week. If you log in, you can do things like renew your books online. You can also place a hold on something if that's something that you want it to. So this is good for you to know and also for your students to know as well. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the library webpage and back to that resources for you. So we talked about lending course reserves. Course reserves can be print or electronic. We will assist you in reserves, collecting the materials, putting them online. Some people like to put the reserves in Blackboard themselves. So if you were to ask the reserve service to collect the materials for you, maybe to scan things, they'll give you a link that you could then put in Blackboard if you wanted to do that.
So like book chapters, for instance, or something?
Book chapters, yes. Now it depends. They will follow copyright. They will request permission if necessary. But yes, it's a portion of the book. So they would be able to do that as well. Now some faculty also put copies of their textbooks on reserve as well. And the students do take advantage of that, definitely.
The copyright issues, are those things that you keep up with? Or is
Yeah,
something-
actually there is a link right here. It's in several places, but this is the first one for copyright information. And if you follow that, it explains the copyright. Maybe? Okay. So there's a lot of information here in terms of what we will do. But if you also follow that link on reserves, it will explain it as it relates to the reserves. Okay, so really it is a convenience, I think, more than anything else. It provides you with some good background information. And the copyright, of course, is always in flux, but there are several names if you follow this link or here that you can contact them if you have a specific question about putting certain things on reserve. So it's usually a percentage of the chapters, something like that,
Yeah.
right? You would be amazed to see the students printing out chapters from their textbook. It seems kind of crazy, but anyway. The other thing you can do from this page is you can request, just scrolling down a little bit, you can request class instruction online. You have already had that. So that's actually a good way for you to keep up with what changes are for somebody to come to your class. The instruction can either be in this building or it could be in your classroom. We like to do hands-on with students if they have a project, if they're actually working on a project. I think that's better, but we'll do whatever. I'm the business librarian. I spend a lot of time over at Valley giving presentations over there. So we'll do whatever works best. In terms of interlibrary loan, that would be the next piece of information. And in interlibrary loan, you can request either books or articles. You do need to log in. We also have a copy service. So let's say you wanted, a really old article from American Psychologist or something like that. And if it's on microfilm or fiche, we will scan it for you or a student and email it to you. So we don't make you use any of those machines anymore unless you really want to. Okay, so you can do that. And when your interlibrary loan comes in, you receive an email and you just go get it yourself. Okay? If it's a book, you have to come into the library and use it. So interlibrary loan is extremely fast. For articles, sometimes the articles come in the same day because we just subscribe to a service that's called Rapid ILL, where a group of libraries agree to be really fast. And so since we've been doing that, the requests come in a day or two or sometimes even the same day. In terms of books, if they're available in New Jersey has a delivery service between all the libraries in New Jersey, so we can get the books pretty quickly unless it has to come from out of state. Okay. Okay. And
Does that apply to articles too, or just books? So research articles that students might find that they can't access?
we would help them get them too. And we don't charge for the service either. And since it's so fast, I mean, it's better for the students to use the appropriate sources.
Right.
Right. And there are quite a few in psychology. We have a lot of things that are going to be available online, but maybe not, especially in the research classes where they're working on a specific issue. So all they really need is to be structured enough to do their searching first, which is good practice anyway, and then they can request the materials that we don't have. The only thing we have a little trouble with are dissertations, but...
Right, I told them not to use dissertations.
Right, and they probably don't want them either because they're very long. I think that, you know, it sounds good, but very often it's not really what they, not what they want. Okay. So I mentioned the book delivery service already, and hopefully we're planning at some point to roll that out to other buildings on campus. You may or may not be familiar with the Liaison Program. Okay, every department has a library staff member and a member of that department who more or less work together. Let me just scroll down a little, you can see one and get the idea. Okay. Maybe, there we go. Okay, so librarian and then also departmental coordinator. So what we do with that is to make, it's a communication method primarily. Perhaps you have materials that you would like to add to the collection. I think Bill is the coordinator for psychology. I'm not positive. So you can always ask if there are titles that you're interested in or resources that you're interested in. You can communicate that either to your departmental coordinator or to the librarian who's the liaison. Very often different departments have different practices in terms of ordering books, so it varies. So I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure who your department, yeah, but you can check and see who that is. Let's see if I can get down there. Bill is English. Bill is a Renaissance person. He has a number of degrees. Okay, I'm not going to get that to go down. Let's, okay. So that is our liaison program. You can also directly request or suggest materials. There's a form there for you to fill out. So that's pretty straightforward. And I showed you already how to find a new book. So let's look at the databases, okay? So the Find Articles and Databases tab. Actually, the handout that I gave you, that image of the the author or the artist is Friedrich Ammerling, and I thought that was kind of a fascinating photo from a database that's called Art Store. So we have about 100 databases. This particular one is a database that we purchased collaboratively. The art historians were very interested in having these image files, and you have access to them. They have there's a lot of fascinating things in there. So if you wanted to pull in some interesting graphics for something that you're doing, they really are wonderful. And the database itself actually allows you to zero in on that little pixel, if you will, because it is really for art. But it has some nice features to it as well. And I just wanted to use that to emphasize that one of the library's strategic goals excuse me, is to increase and strengthen presence and contributions in all aspects of online education, teaching, learning, research, and services. So it's not that we're not going to still buy books in print, but we really want to focus on and work collaboratively with faculty in terms of making the online course work as best as it possibly can be. So in terms of the databases, and I'm just going to click go, and that will take me to the full alphabetical list. You can also, for students, look by discipline or subject area. And so this is just an A to Z. So actually, in terms of your area of research, some of the business databases might be useful for you. The ABI, for example. That one doesn't look like Psych Lit. Psych Lit, I believe, is, let me just show this to you. We have two main vendors, if you will, of the databases. One of them is ProQuest and the other one is EBSCO. And they both work in very similar manners. Yeah, this is a ProQuest database, and Psych Lit, I'm pretty sure, is a EBSCO database. So the ones that would be useful for you are ABI, there is another business database that's called Business Source Premier, and that one looks and works just like PsycInfo does. So just scroll down to that. There also are Sociological Abstracts, might be another one. And have you used the science database, Scopus?
No.
Okay, let me show that one to you. If I can get down to S. Scopus is, even though it's a science database, it has some interesting features in it, and it really includes a lot of social sciences as well. You can do some interesting things in here. So for example, you could do an affiliation search and type in William Paterson and see things that other faculty have published in that is picked up in this particular database. It isn't necessarily full text, but it links to full text. Okay. What the library actually does is we purchase a service that allows us to compare the titles, and it's a linking service. So it doesn't matter what database you start with. If we have it somewhere else, it will link through to that. So in fact, when you go into the affiliation search, you can actually explore further not only the article, but how many times it's been cited. Okay, so there is some information here also about the specific journal. So if you're concerned about, places that are good places to publish and things like that, you can get some very detailed information, just like Google Scholar a little bit in here.
I see, but only through the affiliation search?
No, I think you get it. I think you can get it other ways, but I've seen it through the affiliation search because you have to be at a place. Let me just show you with the affiliation. You can also, for any of these databases, you can set up an account, and you can set up a search and have things automatically sent to you. So all of them provide that kind of service.
like, I know for in Psych Info and Psych Articles, you can't, it doesn't give you the site by, so it's only the Google Scholar, which is really useful.
It's still very useful? Right.
So it would be nice if this provides.
Okay, so for example, you can see over on the left side, it identifies the faculty, yes, or the affiliated faculty, if you will, and also the subject area. So you can actually look for a particular one. And right now it's, let me just look at this. The first one is a book. Let me just see. You can also search by one. Let's just see here. Surface Design Journal. Let's look at that one. So even though this is mostly science, it has a lot of other things in here. You can create a bibliography. Notice across the top where it says analytics. That's where you're going to see. So that's where you have the journal analyzer, they call it. Everybody has their own name. So you can put in a specific area. I don't have a journal yet, so I don't know. What can I type in here? Let's try. Whenever I know I'm going to use a laptop, I try to find things that I don't have to type. Okay, so here I have, I typed in developmental, and let me just get rid of this one. Oh, I typed it in as a phrase rather than the journal title, but notice here it says analyze results. We actually will provide workshops on this particular database. Okay, so you sort of get the idea. You can see the citations in this particular database, and you can also track you know, how many people are citing your article, that kind of thing. So that's the type of material that's in here. So I think this would be a good one for you. I wanted to mention also other databases. Yes. I don't know if you're familiar with Pivot. Have you heard about that one yet? Okay. Just go back to the library page first. There are several databases that all faculty might find useful. One of them is Refworks. Refworks is our citation software, okay? And it has its issues. I was just using it yesterday. But Refworks is really great. So you can download from any of our databases. You can also import from the catalog in Worldcat. Are you familiar with Worldcat?
No, I've only used Refworks.
Okay, so the other one that I think would be useful is called Pivot. Pivot is actually a subscription from, I'm forgetting the office right now, for research and funding, okay, Martin Williams. And Pivot is a place where you can log in. You have to set up an account. There are some, wherever possible, we have tutorials linked right on next to the database, so you can actually look into that. We've been having a series of workshops, and there will be more. The idea of this is that faculty would log in, you put in your profile, and then you automatically will receive notices of potential grant opportunities. Okay, so there are some workshops. I'm not sure if there's another Pivot, but if you ever wanted something right away and you needed an orientation, all you have to do is contact us and we'll set something up individually. But I believe there's one more workshop this semester, and they'll be repeated next semester too. So this is definitely something that's worth using. And then you can also see what your colleagues are doing, which it's designed to try to encourage interdisciplinary work, if you will, within a campus. Okay, so you can see if there's somebody, for example, over in the College of Business who is doing some work in decision sciences, that might be of interest to you also. Let's just see. And the last one that I wanted to mention is Worldcat. And Worldcat is the database that the library uses for interlibrary loan, primarily. Like who has this book or journal or film, whatever. So it's this one here, Worldcat. So when you search Worldcat, you're searching a catalog, if you will, from throughout the world. Okay, so there are a lot of records in here. This is how we identify the locations, which library has a particular book or who has a particular journal as well. So it's very useful sometimes because it's a bigger picture than ours. Okay, so it's going to be libraries from all over the world. Okay, and so you can use things in Worldcat. You can even download or upload, I'm not sure what it is, from Worldcat into Refworks also. Okay, so that might be something that is of use to you. Okay, so those are the databases. And I think they're the ones primarily that would be useful. I would say the business ones, and the Scopus is really very nice. Okay, other things that I wanted to point out to you. The third item here is NJVID. Okay, NJVID is an organization in New Jersey, which we are a part of, actually. And that is the main source of the streaming videos that we have, okay? So you can log into NJVID, you can set up an account. There are workshops also that are offered on how to do that. So if you wanted to set up a playlist for a particular class, you can do that using the NJVID facility. But in reality, when I typed in sustainability, I could also link directly to the streaming videos. It's relatively simple to do. All you have to do is identify your institution once you follow the link and then log in, and then you can actually see the video. Okay, so that might be something that you want to explore. We have a fairly substantial collection of streaming videos, so that makes it very easy. You know, the students can watch before they come to class. Might be one way to approach that. The other thing I wanted to point out is the journals A to Z. Oh no, it's going to log off. Wow. How could it do that? I'll log off and I'll let it log back in?
No, it's configured.
Oh, it's not even Wednesday. Okay, so from the Journals and Periodicals link, you can say, well, does the library have decision sciences? Okay. Where is it indexed? So you can follow the link and then you can do a search within that title. Okay, so that's the best feature. And so it gives you a good sense of the journals that we have or don't have. So if you wanted to check you have a list of journals, does the library have this? The best way to do that is to go to that Journals and Periodicals link, okay? And what it does is it just tells you which database has it. And it also tells you if we have, you know, volume 1 from 1890 or something like that. And in that case, it's probably going to be on microfilm or fiche, okay? And we would make that copy for you, okay? So, research assistant. When we get back to the library webpage, there's actually a research help tab all the way to the right. And from that tab, you can chat, you can email, you can contact the reference desk directly. We also will both for students and faculty, you can schedule an appointment. So if you wanted to sit down with Bill or one of your students, you wanted to send your student to work on a project specifically, the student can fill out the form, and then we'll set up an appointment that's at the best time for the student and whoever the person who's going to help them. The students always have crazy hours, you know, like 6 o'clock at night or something like that. But the library is open 7 days a week during the semester, so we can usually handle that pretty easily. Okay. In terms of research help, there also is chat service, and so for example, we're interested in exploring, you know, faculty who might be willing to have, you know, a chat button put into their Blackboard, for example. Okay, sorry. The next thing I wanted to show you are the workshops, where they're listed, and then also something that's called a Libguide. And if we can't show you here, we'll do it on your computer. Should never schedule anything at 12:30.
Have my computer sit there and go, would you like to shut down? It doesn't just automatically turn on.
Oh, this is true if you teach in another classroom also. So we made this little bookmark for you, all the ways that you can get connected. The mobile app is pretty convenient, actually. And also some of the databases are now providing access via mobile. So I think that's particular interest for students. I find it hard to read an article on a mobile device like that, but it does exist, and I think that there will be more and more. So you'd be able to, PsycLit, for example, PsycInfo is one of them. EBSCO provides a mobile app. You can simply download it, and you can then actually search PsycInfo from your phone if that's what you want to do. So I think more and more the companies that we purchase these databases from are creating the mobile apps to facilitate it, and they're free. So not so bad to use those. We are open, as I mentioned, every day. During the regular semester, we do extend our hours the week before exams and exams for students. So we're open until 2 a.m. during that time. And there's a fair amount of students that come in. We keep track of all of that. The other thing, the other picture on the back side is a picture of students using the library, because a lot of times I think faculty, especially faculty who are over at Valley, think, well, the students never come in the building. And that means they haven't been here during certain times of the semester or middle of the day. So this is an image of some students who made their own group study because all the rooms upstairs were full. We had some portable whiteboards, so they were able to study together. So I wanted to mention another goal, which I know we share with instruction and research technology, which is where we are right now. The library will create physical and virtual learning spaces where students and faculty can productively interact with each other, with library staff, and the library resources. So as we begin to consolidate, maybe we don't need those print journals anymore. That creates space for different kinds of learning. And so we're very interested in that. Okay, we're almost there. I'm glad you have this on tape because this is a very annoying thing. Okay, let's close this. I have to let it do its thing. Do you have any questions? Okay, I just wanted to show you the news, the workshops, and the Libguides. Now, every semester we have a series of workshops. Some of them are definitely oriented to faculty. So the workshops are over on the left menu. You'll see, just come down here. We do have some tutorials. You've probably already used or seen the psych one. That one we developed with faculty in the psych department. Okay, so some of the things are advanced Refworks. Another one has to do with using all the ebooks. It's not quite, they're complicated in some ways depending upon, it's easy to find an ebook in the catalog, click on it and read it, okay? But if you wanted to download it or use it in a class for instruction, sometimes there are some issues. So this is sort of an ongoing workshop. The other one I wanted to mention, this is coming up in November too, is the Scopus. So if that's something that you'd like to, Richard will explain all the features of it. And then following that, the locating grant funding with the pivot database. So those are those databases that are of interest to all faculty, and those are some November workshops. And again, we repeat them. There was one or two, there were two on the streaming video also, so that'll be repeated next semester as well. And we'll do one custom also, if that's something that you're interested in. The last thing that I want to mention is the guides. And let's get back up. Okay, so from the library page, all the way on the right is research help. And that's where you can see the ask a question, what the workshops are, what tutorials we have, schedule research help, that type of thing. But we also have these general guides. So I was going to point out we already actually looked at this one, the copyright one. But these are guides that basically draw people into either library resources or an issue. There's one for textbooks that explains all the different ways students can get textbooks, that kind of thing. But we also will do these guides for a course or by subject. So you can see that, how about that? My picture is right there. So you can look at a variety of different things. So if I were to look at, let me just pick one here. I'm going to take education because I know they have a lot of course-related sections. Let's do that here. Okay, so in this case, you can see that, first of all, there are topics such as doing an author study for children's literature, but also specific guides for a class. So the purpose of this would be to guide your students into using the sources that you want them to use. And this is something, I'll just look at this one. This is actually a graduate class. Okay, so these can be customized, and they can be organized around a specific research question, around a specific course, or something in general. So this is a kind of instruction easily put into your Blackboard to kind of get students in the right place. Okay, so if that's something that you're interested in, you can let us know. Not only would a librarian create one for you, but you could also participate in the creation. It's called a Libguide. Okay, so they're really very useful. We had a lot of popular ones anyway. The nursing ones are the most popular ones. Any questions?
Yeah, can you repeat this, the last one? I'm not
Okay.
sure I understand.
Okay, so this is actually, there's a generic one. I'll show you the psychology one.
Okay.
So you'll see on the left side that there's sort of by discipline. Okay, and psychology. Now this is a general one, so it isn't specific to a course, but this reviews the databases to use, how you'd find books related, citing. I see he has a tab for tests and testing, professional organizations. So this is a generic one for psychology, but we would also do a custom one for a specific class. Yes. So I do. I can show you one that I've done. So I've done a whole series of general business ones. Like a lot of students in the College of Business have to create a business plan. So I have a guide that provides a whole set of links to them for a business plan. I also have some general subject guides, and then I also have some course-specific ones at the bottom as well. So I've created these for a particular class. So the corporate social responsibility actually is not in the College of Business, it's in communication. Okay, and then this is based on the resources that the faculty member wanted the students to be directed to.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun to do. So if that's something that you are interested in, it can be done collaboratively. Your name can be added to the author list, and then you can actually edit and add a guide along with whoever you'd work with.
Yeah,
Okay, it's a kind of instruction in a way. In fact, for many of the things that if I do have a PowerPoint, say for a tax research class, I actually put the PowerPoint in here so the students can go back and then they can review the PowerPoint as well. So it's very, very flexible. You can link to all kinds of things and just focus it on whatever. It's really good when it's focused on a particular class. Right.
Seems really useful.
Yeah, they are. Okay. That's it for me. Any other questions?
No, I don't have questions. No, this was really helpful. I knew there were going to be things I didn't know about, and I
Right.
feel like most of the time people don't use them because they don't know about them.
Right. And you also don't have time initially
Yeah,
sometimes.
exactly.
Right.
So it's nice to get an overview
Yeah.
through you. So thank
Okay,
you.
so next time you have questions, just contact us.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.